It's Eric Bakker, the naturopath from New Zealand. It's good to be back again. I took a little break. I wasn't feeling that great, but I didn't test positive. No, actually I did have a virus, and it's the first virus I've had probably in many years. We had our lockdown, we came out of lockdown for many weeks, people started to circulate, and wham, everybody got sick. In the whole area, many people contracted a virus, and it was quite a bad one. So, but I'm good as gold now, or a box of birds, as they say. Right, we're going to talk about fatigue, and we're going to look at a couple of different quadrants. In fact, I've got four major quadrants I'm going to talk about, and in each quadrant we'll talk about a few different options in that quadrant. But these are the four key quadrants why I believe many people are tired, so fatigued. So if you've got fatigue, listen carefully, because in one of these quadrants there's likely to be an area where you'll go, yeah, I've got that, that's so me, I've got that problem. All right, so let's try and give you a couple of solutions as we go along the way. So the four main quadrants are reasons why people are tired. Well, the first one will be lifestyle related, and we can talk about sleep and exercise and movement and stuff like that, and why these things are so important to get right. Another group is food, of course, so we'll talk about people on very low calorie diets, people on high calorie diets, people on like weird calorie diets, all sorts of diets, how they can affect the energy level. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about the third quadrant, which is stress related problems, which I separated from lifestyle because I feel stress is such a big issue today. Everyone's got stress. I don't really watch mainstream media or get involved in social media or things like that, because I just find that everywhere you turn to, there's always someone yelling at someone else, or there's just some crap going on. There's just no point constantly engaging in world events. I just find it stresses me out too much. So we'll talk about issues like relationship stuff, money, stress, these sorts of problems that many people face today. And then the fourth one is the medical quadrant, because there can be many medical reasons why people have fatigue, like anemia, like thyroid dysfunction, like depression, anxiety, things that many of us face. So let's start off really with the lifestyle one. Now, there are many videos I've made in the previous years regarding sleep. One of my big concerns with many people today is they're not sleeping enough. They're not getting quality sleep, and they're not sleeping enough anymore. Right, I'm an old geezer. Well, if you look at me, 60 years old, we were people like, we'll point down there. People my age, remember, lived for 30-40 years before internet came along. We never had internet. We had no Google, we had no Amazon, we had no way of going click on phones or things like that. Everything was done manually, okay? If you wanted to see someone, you had to pick up a phone or visit them. There was no texting, there was nothing like that. So we had an active lifestyle, I believe, far more active, and which made us also more tired because we had to do more things, right? People don't have to do so much anymore. The only things that has to be working is now this little thing here. Well, not a lot really of effort required to do this kind of stuff now, is it? So when you think about it, the internet has made things far superior, but it also has made things pretty crappy for a lot of people. I'm talking about staying up too late at night. I'm talking about Netflix. I'm talking about all these streaming crap you can get now where people just sit there and binge on junk, So I don't really watch any of this kind of stuff. I can't see the fascination with all these movies and hours upon hours of yawning with a bag of crisps in front of a screen and then moaning the next day that you've got no energy. Think about it logically, right? One of the best things you can do, you won't like to hear this, is going to bed 9-10 o'clock at night and waking up early. You'll feel so much better for it. Get your body into a regular pattern of sleep, okay, waking up and doing things through the day. You'll find it will make you healthy, wealthy and wise, like we used to say in the old days. But today we don't really see a lot of health around. We don't see a lot of wisdom around. Okay, we see a lot of money around, but again, internet kind of money, I suppose. But the point I'm making is the sleep's not there anymore. The patterns are gone. Many people now just don't sleep adequately, sleep poorly. And when they do go to bed, is it any wonder they can't fall asleep or maintain that sleep pattern? It's all about regularity. It's all about habits. Okay, habits are very important. One of my favorite sayings, remember, We don't decide on our future, we decide on our habits, and then they decide on our future for us. So a good habit to get into is trying to get to bed and switch the darn computer off, or iPad, or whatever you've got there. And if you've got something in bed, well, that's pretty wicked. When you're starting to look at technology stuff when you're lying down, to me, it's not really the right thing to do. It's not really synonymous with health. If you want to get involved in screens, do it in the daytime. But at night time, it's not a great thing to do, really. Book reading. But then again, you'll say, yes, but we've got Kindle now. Well, it's all different, isn't it? So the two issues I got with sleep is not enough sleep and poor quality sleep. And often it's a lifestyle related thing. Okay? And that leads me into the exercise, or walking, or gardening, or movement, or some type of activity, which is also sorely lacking today. So if the sleep is poor and the body's not being used adequately anymore, to burn up the caloric, requirements, that it's built up over the day, you've been eating calories, you're going to burn those calories off, you're going to get muscles, are going to be tired, you're going to want to lie down and relax. Again, pre-computers, this is what people did. They manually did things. Okay, they would eat plenty of food, they would work hard, they would go to sleep, and they'd sleep really well. But again, downsizing, not many people working anymore, people getting lazier, more tired, increasingly fatigued, and they're not really exercising much anymore. Especially people my age, we don't really see it as much as we would like to. A lot of baby boomers are jumping into these iPads head on instead of jumping into a swimming pool when you think about it. Right? So that's the big one, is the lifestyle. Right? The food, of course, is one of the largest areas where people can really easily work on, but many people now again follow trends. They're following all these various diets online. Every time a new book gets published, someone will follow a new diet, and you get these social influencing kind of people on Instagram, whatever it is, again with their flash diets, and then everyone wants to follow that, big butt diet, or big boob diet, or sexy face diet, or whatever you call it. I can't keep up with it anymore. So many people still eat too many refined carbohydrates. Interesting news flash, they just discovered in New Zealand that one of the biggest reasons children are getting cavities, it's not so much the sugar in the diet, it's the refined carbohydrates in the diet. White bread, pastry, donuts, crap like that. And they're finally starting to wake up to the fact that it's causing dental caries. Refined carbs in your diet, it's like putting gas or petrol or fuel onto a fire. It's quick ignition, instant flame. So when you eat really refined carbs, you'll get a good energy boost from that, but then you'll fall flat on your face because there's nothing left to back it up with. So the body starts getting into a fatigue state after the refined carbs. You will get into a hypoglycemia or low blood sugar state. It'll be using up valuable minerals and vitamins in that regulation process, and that can plunge you into tiredness or fatigue. So if you get tired, especially in the afternoons or mid-morning, and you want that coffee or that donut or whatever it is that you snack on, especially if you want something sweet like some candy or something, a big reason is likely that you didn't really fuel up properly a few hours before. So instead of having a refined cereal in the morning like Cheerios, or I don't know what you call them in America, what do you call those really refined kind of cereals, that just basically puffed up sugar? When you have a bowl of that with milk and sugar, and again, it's going to spike your blood sugar. Same with a couple of cookies, it'll spike your blood sugar. So blood sugar will go up, but then various hormones, the cortisol will start pulling that right down rapidly, and then you'll start noticing you'll get fatigue. So we call that hypo or low blood sugar. Now you can stop all that, for example, by in the morning having a granola or a muesli, or like I do, having a rolled oats, like a porridging winter cooked up. Usually with a few raisins in it. I put some Manuka honey on top. I use Jersey cow milk, full cream, beautiful, just a little bit of that on it. Superb breakfast. Put some cinnamon powder on it. So when you start eating whole grain foods like that, you'll notice certainly that you won't get that drop in energy. That rolled oats will keep me going for hours and hours and hours, right through probably till about 1 o'clock. So yeah, the calories. The calories is a big one. Not eating enough calories or eating too many refined carbohydrates. Many people think they can cut down on their food to lose weight, when in fact it doesn't work like that, because many people who cut down on food to lose weight in fact gain more weight because they start binging at different times of the day, right? The healthiest people I know tend to eat a lot more food, good food, than the bigger people trying to lose weight to gain the smaller size. Okay, so crash diets and chopping out a lot of food out of your diet is not the way to lose weight. It's regularity. It's regularity over a long period of time of living a particular lifestyle that will give you that body shape that you desire. But it takes time, right? So not eating enough calories, not eating enough protein. So some people take all the meats out of the diet. They'll just eat vegetables, for example, and some fruits and maybe a piece of, tofu as a piecemeal, but it doesn't work. You need to really eat good levels of protein. It doesn't have to be meat. Okay, you can eat vegetarian sources of protein. We tend to eat lots of different proteins in the house, many different types of legumes and curries made up with all kinds of different lentils. Very, very tasty. So the meat's not really required. Many people favor eggs, some will favor fish, some will eat beef, some will eat lamb, and some will just eat tofu. But the protein has to be there if the energy is going to be there. With poor protein levels come poor energy levels. So food is as important as lifestyle. The third quadrant is the stress-related problems that plunge people into fatigue. Stress for the body is very stressful. So when the body is being very stressed out, it takes a lot of the body, okay, to start coming back to its normal level again. Okay, eustress is different from distress. So eustress is good stress. For example, having to speak in front of a microphone, that's a good stress. Okay, but having to speak in front of a judge because you've done something really bad, well, that's bad stress, isn't it? Okay, being involved in a car crash, well, that's bad stress, all right? So relationship problems, very, very tiring for people. Divorces, all that kind of nonsense, Statistics show that over 50% of people, 54% I think it is, of people who go through a divorce regret that divorce. And in fact, 48% regret it within 2 to 3 weeks. So it's something for you to think about. Maybe work through problems instead of just walking away from problems, because it never works, does it? Money problems. Many people have got a champagne lifestyle on a beer budget. They spend too much, they're not earning enough, or they constantly worry about money. These are huge forms of stress for people, and they're very draining and very tiring. So I can't give you solutions in that regard, but there's always something that can be done if you think carefully about it. Stress is, in my mind, as debilitating as a crappy diet. If you're living a high stress lifestyle, to me, emotionally, if you look at it physiologically, it's just as stressful as eating a diet full of, basically McDonald's kind of food, takeaway food, Coca-Cola, and often highly stressed people eat that kind of food too. So they're cruising for, a bad fall. You can't live that long for too long without having a bad fall. So think about the stress-related issues in your life and how you can overcome those issues. Maybe you need to get some help or talk to people regarding those concerns, but there's always ways you can mitigate a stress response. Okay? If there's relationship issues, you need to get them sorted. You might need professional help. You may need to separate from that person, but there's always a solution. The medical is the last and the fourth quadrant for the fatigue, and the chief one being, of course, anemia. So people not having enough iron really in their body, and with lack of iron, you can't really adequately carry oxygen around, okay, to give the cells the power that they need. To me, anemia in a motor car is like putting a hand over the air intake. You're starving the body of oxygen. So when you starve a motor vehicle of oxygen, of air, the combustion engine can't work properly, so the performance drops right off. It's the same in the body. If you've got blood loss, it could be through menstruation, it could be through an accident, it could be also a condition like hemochromatosis, like iron overload. They need sorting. Blood tests will often pick that up quite quickly. You may have a low thyroid condition. Hypothyroidism is a very big cause of fatigue with people. Very big cause. And again, blood testing may be what you need, Basal temperature testing may be what you need. So I suffered for years with thyroid problems until I finally sorted them with iodine, and I now back to square one. I feel awesome now. Chronic fatigue syndrome. autoimmune disease, the list goes on and on. So anxiety, depression. So if you've got fatigue and you think it's medical, you definitely need professional help. Good time to go and get checked out by the doctor and talk to your doctor about your problems, see if they can get sorted. So let's just quickly recap the lifestyle issues we talked about. Not enough sleep or crappy sleep, often interfered with relationship problems or internet usage or something like that. All right. Second area we talked about was the food problems. Not enough calories, too many refined carbohydrates, not enough protein, weird wacko diets from goodness knows where, people jumping from one diet to another. I've seen this for so many years in my professional work. Some people think their diet's almost like underclothing, they can just change them every day, but it doesn't work like that, right? Stress-related problems, one of the biggest categories in my opinion. You don't see it, it's hidden, okay? We talked about relationship issues, we talked about stress and how it affects the body, how it accelerates aging, makes you depressed and tired. And then the medical, okay? We talked about the blood sugar issues, we talked about, we didn't look at diabetes, but that's another one. Anemia, thyroid, chronic fatigue syndrome, anxiety, depression, all reasons why people plunge into fatigue. Think about one of those quadrants, those 4, and where you fit in those quadrants, and see if you can prioritize. If you've got 2 or 3 of these issues, prioritize the top one and start working on that and watch how the energy comes up. Because even at 60, you can have tons of energy. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to sign up. If you become a sub, you'll get a free paper from me. I think it's a 17-page Candida report. Thanks for tuning in.